Hello, and welcome to another scintillating episode of Live from Your Mother's Basement. As I stated before, I don't really do reviews, I just share opinions, and sometimes instead of just doing a rapid fire thing for a movie, I want to talk about one in detail. This time I want to share my opinion with you about The Man From U.N.C.L.E. Bear in mind this is an opinion from a man who used to watch repeats of the old 1960s TV show starring Robert Vaughn and the incredible David McCallum as Napoleon Solo and Ilya Kuryakin. The TV show was co-made by Ian Fleming of James Bond fame as a way of being able to do Bond on screen. He created Napoleon Solo to be a less brutish version of the James Bond from his novels. The show itself was successful for 4 seasons, due mostly to the chemistry between the two male leads, and now Guy Ritchie is given a chance to be able to allow that franchise to breathe once again. First off, let's talk about the look of the film. Obviously they've used the very heavy 60s palette, but not doing it in a cartoonish or lampoonish way such as Austin Powers. One of the most interesting things to point out, for example, is how the 60s fashion doesn't really look that out of place compared to clothes that we wear these days. That might be due to, in part, the fact that Henry Cavill can wear just about any suit and look good in it. So good, in fact, that just about anybody else who ever wears a suit for the rest of time will never actually look quite that good. And as much as we may like Henry Cavill in Your Mother's Basement, we do actually have to curse his name for this particular fact. Mind you, that said, it doesn't stop one from trying. And as we've mentioned Henry Cavill, let's talk about the cast. Henry Cavill is fantastic and charming, playing Napoleon Solo. Armie Hammer's Ilya Kuryakin is also incredibly charming, and the new edge of him being somewhat of a troubled soul is actually carried across very, very, very well. Alicia Vikander is absolutely fantastic. Completely stole the screen every time that she was on it, except for the odd occasion when her accent slipped and she sounded distinctly American, despite playing somebody who was from East Germany. And despite the fact that the actress is Swedish. Elizabeth Debicki is the villainess, and in proper Bond fashion, she may as well have grown a mustache and twirled it, but she actually carried the weight very, very, very well. Other notable appearances including Jared Harris, for the first time in a very long time, neither playing a total douchebag or a villain. And of course I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Hugh Grant playing Waverly in the movie. In fact, it's got a very interesting cast when you think about it. In the original TV series you actually had Robert Vaughn, an American, playing an American agent. But then you had a Scotsman playing a Russian agent in Ilya Kuryakin. In this one you actually have an Englishman playing an American agent, you have an American actor playing a Russian agent, you have a Swedish woman playing an East German, you have an Australian playing a British person, you have a British man playing an American agent, and you have Hugh Grant being Hugh Grant. He might actually be the only member of the cast that's actually cast as his own nationality. But this is one of those things where it's a case of it's always the best person for the part, not necessarily where they come from. And in this case it works in spades. Absolutely everybody in the movie seems to gel really, really well in their characters and in the relationships. As a matter of fact, the chemistry between Solo and Kuryakin is absolutely fantastic, as it always used to be in the 60s show. To be able to make this work, Guy Ritchie does pretty much what he does in every movie that he has made. He ends up turning characters into basically superheroes. This is a trait that is more noticeable in his adaptations of Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. Not really exactly close to the source material, using enough of it to actually seem like that it's actually a part of the mythos, but then creating enough original material on which to be able to make it stand on its own 2 feet. It's no different here. They create new backstories for Napoleon Solo and Ilya Kuryakin, Solo being a former criminal, now actually working out his 15-year sentence as a CIA agent, and Kuryakin being the son of one of Stalin's favourite generals and a questionable past of his own mother, which has led to a psychosis, which Armie Hammer plays incredibly, incredibly well. Maybe he actually needs a nice cup of chamomile tea and sit down and quietly read a book or something. The story is a bit A to B in places, there's a couple of things that are a little bit ham-fisted, but for the most part the story is actually very, very entertaining. It's very reminiscent of the original show that it is based on, and of course that then leads to comparisons with the 1960s and 70s versions of James Bond. However, some of these memes and tropes end up working quite well because of the fact that it's handled in a very unique manner. For instance, there is a scene with Napoleon Solo actually being set up for torture, and the villain before him explaining his great plan. The way that this is handled, however, is as a way of psychological torture, showing all the things that this person has actually done in the past in a way of being able to break Solo's resolve before the actual torture begins itself. It is incredibly creepy. So creepy, in fact, it actually gave me gooseflesh the entire time this man was telling his story. And it's not the only time that I got gooseflesh throughout it. The finale was absolutely spectacular, and there are several other scenes, including the opening scene involving a car chase before Kuriakin and Solo get to know each other, where they are head to head with one another. This is all brought to life very well by the choices in music. To my knowledge, this is the first time I've heard a score by Daniel Pemberton, and it is incredibly thematic, and it's mixed with era-appropriate songs that get tied in very, very well. Sometimes in an avant-garde manner, in which the music itself is actually offsetting to the visuals, including an incredibly funny scene where Solo is in fact sitting down to have a nice lunch that he's found in a truck, all the while his partner is on a speedboat getting shot at. And this leads me to my final point. Once again, this is another very well made movie that is incredibly entertaining and is not actually meeting its box office potential. It seems to me these days that the success of a movie is down to pot luck. It's a roll of the dice. There are many movies that are absolutely terribly made that end up making a hell of a lot of money. There are movies that are really well made that make almost nothing, but are critically acclaimed as soon as they reach Blu-ray and DVD. There are some films that are absolutely panned, even across the internet, and still make a lot of money. I'm looking at you, Fantastic Four. This is one of those movies that deserves to be successful. This is a movie that also deserves to have its own sequel so we can get to see this pairing come back together. And frankly, considering the cast, the director and the source material, there is no reason why this movie should not be successful. It is incredibly entertaining, the cast is charismatic, the film is colourful, and it is a lot of fun. So I recommend to absolutely any of you, if you have any idea of a sense of fun in regards to the spy genre, if you're a fan of Guy Ritchie, if you're a fan of Bond level stuff, if you're a fan of the actors or the cast that's actually been brought onto it, then please give this movie a go. I give it an absolute 5 stars, despite a couple of little flaws that it might actually have. The extra star, of course, because it should be 4 stars, but I give it an extra star purely because of Henry Cavill in the suits. I might have a man crush going on here. Mind you, Armie Hammer and those turtlenecks. Whew. Look into the lens. You have to look into the... not that intensely, you look like some sort of stalker. Hello! I am staring at you through your monitor. You're filthy.
I am the stud muffin. He's laughing, by the way. And we will see you again. Hi, I'm Amanda Palmer. I am Duke's wife. And then
like, comment, subscribe.
You can like this. You can like this video, or you can comment. Kind comment, please. And you can subscribe. And
social media, Facebook.
Yeah, you can follow follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr.
Right.
And
Janamina-san or something?
Adios or something.
Yay!
Yay!
Mwah.